Hello and welcome to today's mini lecture for Introduction to Substance Abuse, Psychology 1130. Today we will be discussing ayahuasca and DMT, dimethyltryptamine. Ayahuasca is a plant-based hallucinogen. It originates in South America and is not used as a recreational drug. Ayahuasca's history goes back thousands of years. It is said that the plants spoke to the people in the indigenous communities of the Amazon, and that the plants told the people which plants had which effects, and that was how the people discovered which plants to mix together to have the unique effects that ayahuasca is known for. So although a different combination of plants can be used in an ayahuasca brew, there are two main plants that must be present within the brew for it to have its psychotropic effects. One of these is a vine known as Banisteriopsis caapi, and the other is a leaf from a plant in the Amazon known as Psychotria viridis. So these plants and others are often gathered and then mixed together and brewed down, boiled down, until it becomes kind of a sludgy tea-like substance. After the shaman and the people involved in the ceremony pray over the brew and set an intention, the person who is ingesting the brew, who is going on their vision quest, who is connecting with their higher power through the use of this plant, then ingests the plant. After a person ingests the plant, they begin to feel nauseous, and maybe 10, 15 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes into it, will then vomit up the brew. And at this point, a person also begins to experience fear and a state of anxiety, and is then talked through, or sometimes is able to breathe themselves through, into a state of surrender, where then the plant, the hallucinogens, take effect and begin to bring a person on their journey, on this vision quest that ayahuasca is for. The purpose of this, historically speaking, has been to bring a person deep and profound insights that would be healing to themselves and wisdom that they could then bring forth into the community, into the world. Historically speaking, this plant is not a recreational drug. It is not something that has been used recreationally within the indigenous communities. Ayahuasca is a plant that is held in deep respect and should only be used in South America with trained shaman. That being said, there are people who abuse it, and there are people who offer it more as a tourist attraction rather than a deeply moving spiritual experience. And it is not to be taken lightly, and it is not something that is for everyone. There have been cases of death, and some people will actually have an exacerbated psychosis effect, where it can then trigger more long-term psychosis in a person, as well as other mental health disorders. So again, illegal in the United States, not to be used here, and if a person chooses to travel to South America, they should be very cautious as to whom they choose to go on this type of a plant journey with. Ayahuasca is being studied by MAPS, the organization whose link is provided in the Moodle website, as a hallucinogenic treatment for addiction. So if you're interested in studying a little bit more on that, you may look at the link on MAPS. Again, controversial subject. The studies that are being conducted by MAPS are legal and they're clinical, and obviously there are trained personnel available for those experiencing ayahuasca. So one of the active components that I mentioned in ayahuasca is DMT, dimethyltryptamine. It's often also known as the businessman's special or the businessman's lunch trip, because it can be smoked and has the hallucinatory effects that last only about 10 or 15 minutes, versus with things like LSD or ayahuasca or mushrooms, psilocybin, which last for hours. So it actually occurs naturally within the brain as well as within many plants, such as the plants involved in ayahuasca. It is produced in the human brain, in the pineal gland, and is associated with our dreams. So it is said that the DMT that is naturally occurring and released by our pineal glands in our sleep is in part responsible for the visions that we see when we have dreams at night, which would also be how and why it produces hallucinatory visions, visual hallucinations, not auditory, when someone is either ingesting straight up DMT through smoking it or experiencing the effects of DMT through an ayahuasca journey. So although it occurs naturally both in the environment as well as within the body, it can be synthetically derived through a chemical process. DMT also has the dangerous effects of increasing the heart rate, increasing hypertension, as well as potentially opening up the door for psychosis and long-term brain damage. So how does DMT work? So DMT, what it does is it binds to the serotonin receptors in a manner similar to how psilocybin does. So it causes the neurons related to the serotonin release to fire as if serotonin is present, although there is no serotonin present. So this triggering is what causes people to see hallucinations or to have visions. Oftentimes the visions and the hallucinations occur with eyes closed. It is something that, again, businessman's lunch special, someone could do in their car on their lunch break, have a hallucinatory experience, come down from it, and go back to work and act as if nothing had happened. So some of the types of visual hallucinations that people report to have while on a DMT trip are similar to the hallucinatory experiences that someone may have on ayahuasca, however much more brief. Many people will describe these experiences as having a religious or spiritual element to them. Many people report seeing intricate geometric designs and mandalas, and occasionally a person will also report having a bad trip, which would be like a bad nightmare where a person is experiencing demonic forces or darker energies that induce a deep sense of fear in someone. So it is said that when a person ingests DMT, it is like they are visiting other realities. Oftentimes the visions that someone would see could be compared to some of the artwork of Alex Grey, for example, or some of the intricate Buddhist mandala type designs. So again, dimethyltryptamine, it occurs naturally in plants as well as in people. It is produced by the pineal gland and the brain. It is involved in the visual hallucinations associated with ayahuasca. So DMT by itself, naturally occurring, isn't necessarily a bad thing. However, abusing DMT through psychoactive substances such as ayahuasca or through synthetic processes can cause severe psychosis and other types of cognitive damage. You can read more about these plants in Buzzed as well as in the links provided on Moodle. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this mini lecture.